all of us.
The way I understand recalls is that once the petition is filed, you have so many days to file it, so many days to verify the signatures, and then you've got to have an election within 30 or 60 days, something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, there are limits for that.
As long as you can make it work to where it hits the November election, is what I'm saying.
And not many of them do, from my experience. Rob?
Yeah, I'd like to add something as well, and it's not 100% clear, but I know that I've heard from one legal expert and also our city attorney also, who seems to have studied it and seems to know what he's talking about, but on this particular issue, because it's complex, it doesn't happen often. But what happens if 5 councilors are removed? And there are people, I mean, I've heard that there was one theory that maybe the governor would have to step in and make appointments from Salem, you know, from X number of hours away. He's going to come in with the long arm of the government and put people in power. I've also heard that it would be the existing councilors along with the mayor that would appoint. So, you know, the recall could cost us our democratically elected council, and it could be that simple. And it's not going to be replaced with a democratically elected council, whether it's the governor or whether it's the remaining councilors along with the mayor, with or without the mayor. I'm not sure how that would go. Any way you look at it, our democratically elected council will have been, will be a thing of the past. And what's the cost of that? I mean, you know, what is the cost? It's basically, that's the cost of living in America, right? That's what we all, that's what we pay our taxes for, right?
I agree with that. Recalls, there's a lot at stake in them, so that's why it's important that people become really educated on them, and that they can make an intelligent decision. You know, we can always accept, I used to say to people all the time, it's always great you can accept the return of an election if a lot of people do vote in it. It's a heck of a lot easier to accept that return when just a handful of people vote in it. Bill, you've got the floor.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. You know, I went through a council that continued to appoint people. I'm 100% behind the election process. I think that works. The people have spoken, and they'll be speaking again. And I think the recall isn't about finance. It's about finances for sure, but it's more about personal issues, personal agendas, and I believe that there's a lot of harm done in families. I believe friends and neighbors are arguing. I hear people at work arguing. I feel that it's an issue that's harming us as a community to come together and do our job as a whole community together. I don't care if you live in the county or the city. We've got work to do out there. That a lot of good work that needs to be done, and we need to be on the same page. And when you have people in a conflict like this for the last few months, personally, you know, it just makes me sick. It makes a lot of people sick. They don't want to hear all this negative stuff, and you read it in the paper every day, negative, negative, negative. We need to hear positive things in our community. We need things that are going to work for the best of all the community. And it's certainly not by appointing people or not electing them. I mean, that just doesn't work, in my opinion anyway. It's just not the way to go about it. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, there's a number of questions here that I've got from people here in the audience regarding the absence of the chief petitioners. Things like the recallers chose not to be here. Why? Were they invited? I know they were invited. Why did the head recall petitioner so quickly turn down this chance to face you? And also, why do you think the recalls did not come to this, could not or would not defend their positions on the recall? So I like your comments on that, because it's hard, I know, for if you're facing something like this, not to have the person who's, or at least the group that's charging you, sit here and at least be able to have that debate. So what are your comments on that? And I'll let you each have a crack at that. We'll start down at the far side there with Ward Warren.
I know that one of the 3 chief recall petitioners was, from my understanding, was formerly a city employee for a number of years. And I also understand that recall petitioner was involved in the hiring process when the city manager was originally hired almost 3.5 years ago or so. And I think that the reason they're not here is because, as you have alluded to, when you've asked the questions, to get people to think, are these really recallable offenses? And I think if they were here, their generalizations and their innuendo and all these false accusations would not hold up to this debate. I mean, this stuff would be very apparent that this is no more than simple retribution for this city council making a personnel change, and for those that are involved in the recall that want to regain 100% control of the city council so that they can get their special interest agendas passed at the expense of our citizens.
Rob, would like to comment on that, please?
It's very hard to presume why someone would make an allegation and then not step up to the plate and back it up, but they're not here. What I will say is I'm just going to come up with a hypothesis that says that I just think that there is no legal methodology in our elections law that would just say, allow a group to file and say, I want a do-over from the last election. You know, I struck out in the last election, I want a do-over, and there's no legal format for that. So what do they do instead? Well, let's see, a recall. Okay, well, maybe we can do a recall. Okay, well, we got to come up with some kind of charges. And I just don't, you know, these charges that I've seen are pretty thin. And I don't believe they stand up to scrutiny. And if, in fact, this were about other issues, and maybe it is, maybe it's about the fact that, or maybe it's about the idea that the bureaucrats would like complete control over all the money issues, and they don't want the council to really have any say, or they don't want the council to have the ability to ask questions. Maybe it's about that. But I wish they would say what it was and not essentially come up with charges. I mean, one of the silliest of all, I mean, I think they're all thin, but to call Bill Kangas creating a hostile environment is it's thin at best, Bill. You know, it's thin. So I wish you know, whatever the issue was, I just wish it had been more straightforward.
Mark Towns, your turn.
I'm just gonna, basically they've said it all, but I will say that I truly do believe they wanted a redo on the election. And I'm not a conspiracy type guy, but I just think that you know, over the long haul, they said, gee, these guys aren't going the direction we want them to go, so gee, we want to redo. And we were elected by the people, and like this firefight came to me. I didn't go out looking for it. I would just soon be home right now this evening instead of up in front of, although you guys have all been very nice on both sides. I'd just soon be at home with, and not in this position. We're not professional politicians. We're not professional spokesmen. I think everybody here is speaking from the heart, and hopefully you can pick up on that. And I think ultimately the people will make the decision. I hope that everybody here that supports us will continue to support us, and we do need the support. This is a time that we need to rally if we want to keep the city where it is right now. So bear that in mind, everybody that's out there that supports us.
Bill, your turn.
Yeah, I really wish that the petitioners could have come, because some of this has to be clarified, as some of us didn't have an idea what they are. I still don't have an idea what some of them are, and I wish they'd tell me. And as Mark said, he took the words out of my mouth. That if you listen to us, it comes from our heart. We're just working people. I work for a living, always have all my life. I'm not a politician. If I was a politician, I wouldn't be sitting up here. I'd be with the people who are on the other side, because I would be just kicking back with my feet up on a chair watching this. I wouldn't have any concerns. But being I'm not a politician. I'm a working person. I hold up for the working people. I have for 2.5 years, and I believe that we have to keep the cost down for the working people. And so you know, when you get these kind of accusations, you know, I